Democratic Senator Kyrsten Sinema from the state of Arizona is causing a lot of problems for Democrats in Arizona. And the reason is because they're embarrassed. They're embarrassed that Kyrsten Sinema has stolen the spotlight from Joe Manchin as the centrist obstructing the Biden agenda. Now, it is not all on Sinema by any stretch of the imagination. Joe Manchin bears some blame. We've got other Democrats, both in the House and Senate, that have put up roadblocks. So it's not just Sinema. But she has absolutely been the focal point. And according to a massive new report in the New York Times, the very people who helped her get elected, the people who went and knocked on doors for her in 2018, the groups that raised money to get her to run in the first place, they have all turned against her. And it's not just because she's an embarrassment, it's the reason she is an embarrassment. And that is because she's literally doing nothing. And that's the big takeaway from all of this, folks. It's not just that, oh, she wants to negotiate, oh, she's a centrist, and no, she's doing nothing. By pretending to be a centrist, by pretending to be a moderate, what she's really doing is saying, I'm not going to vote with the Democrats or the Republicans. I'm going to sit here, get my wonderfully large paycheck, and do absolutely nothing, and prevent others from doing anything too. That's what she's doing. And that's why they're so embarrassed. And it goes back to earlier this year when she voted down the $15 minimum wage. And in fact, and that was long before reconciliation, infrastructure, all that. That was the moment that a lot of those activists in Arizona said, I'm done. I've had enough of this. Kyrsten Sinema, if you're not familiar with her history, she used to be, aligned with the Green Party. So she was pretty far to the left. You can go through her old tweets saying that, debt ceiling is stupid. Things of that nature. We need to be paying people $15 an hour. We need things like the Green New Deal, all of it. Right? She was absolutely a hardcore progressive. And that's the problem. She sold an image, at least in her early days, that didn't actually exist. She's a political chameleon, and we've seen far too many of those, folks. She goes out there and she says what she thinks needs to be said in order to get people to support her. Whether or not she believes it's irrelevant, because she will do whatever she feels is politically expedient instead of what is actually needed for this country. Sometimes the right thing isn't the popular thing. But what's ironic about the debate we're having right now with reconciliation and infrastructure, those are things that actually are popular. Those are things that even most Republicans want. And yet she's still putting up these roadblocks for literally no reason other than, of course, she is taking large sums of money from the corporate interest who do not want any of this stuff to become a reality. And it's sad to think that such, relatively paltry amounts of money in the big picture are able to convince her to not support these things. Her Democratic colleague from Arizona, Mark Kelly, his approval rating is above 50%. Joe Biden, his approval rating in Arizona is above 50%. They both support these packages. Kyrsten Sinema does not support them, does not support these other progressive ideas, and her approval rating is below 50%. So even taking in this corporate money, that's not going to save you when you're up for re-election in 2024. So I've said in the past, I don't understand what her end game is here because it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you're raising a ton of money for your next election cycle, but if you don't support these things that you're getting paid to not support, you're not going to win anyway, so the money is useless. Unless, of course, you're angling for a lobbyist position or you're angling to go work at some of the corporations funding you right now. It doesn't make any sense. And I've been saying that for months, and I'm glad to see, you can go back on my Twitter feed and see me saying that, but I'm glad to see that other liberal voices, more moderate liberal voices are now starting to say that too. Jonathan Chait came out this week and said, I don't understand what she's playing for here. Told you. I've been saying that for months now. But the bigger problem is the fact that she is going to cost the Democrats a Senate seat in 2024. Her actions are also likely to cost the Democrats a lot of Senate seats and a lot of House seats, including control of the House, in 2022, next year. She is a disaster. She's an embarrassment to the voters in her state, according to the voters in her state. And she is going to cost the Democrats everything.